The morning sun baked the asphalt of Maplewood Lane, a tidy street in the quiet town of Fairview, Oregon, where every lawn was clipped to perfection and every mailbox gleamed under the July 2023 sky. I was pruning my vineyard rows of lush grapevines I'd nurtured for 2 years behind my modest ranch-style home when Laura Bennett's voice sliced through the air like a knife through butter. "Mark, these vines are a blight on our community's charm," she declared, her designer's sunglasses glinting with purpose. Before I could respond, she'd rallied her posse, 3 cousins with more muscle than sense, loading my harvest crates onto a rusty pickup truck. Laura clutched a self-printed cease and desist notice, convinced it gave her the power to erase my property rights. She didn't notice the embroidered badge on my work shirt. 10 minutes later, her imagined authority was crumbling, and I was ready to show her what real justice looked like. Laura's crusade began the night before, at 11:03 p.m., when I heard the faint slap of tape on metal. My dog, Titan, growled low, sensing trouble before I did. Peering through the blinds, I saw her silhouette under the streetlight, taping a notice to my mailbox with the precision of someone who thought the world bowed to her will. The paper was flimsy, the HOA letterhead a cheap imitation of authority, her signature sprawling like a challenge. It called my vineyard an unauthorized agricultural structure and demanded its removal within 24 hours. The words were dressed in legal jargon, but it was all bluster, no teeth, just noise. I tucked it away, knowing Laura's real weapon wasn't the letter. It was the spectacle she'd stage come morning. By 8:45 a.m., the show began. The pickup rumbled down Maplewood, Laura leading the charge in a crisp blazer and heels that clicked like a metronome. Her cousins fanned out, eyeing my vines like they were planning a heist. Neighbors gathered. Mrs. Chun with her coffee mug, still in yoga pants. Mr. Alvarez polishing his glasses for a better view. A kid on a skateboard frozen, half thrilled by the drama. Titan pressed against my leg, his huff saying, "Are we fighting this?" Laura waved her laminated HOA rulebook like a badge of honor. Per section 4.2, agricultural displays exceeding 6 linear feet are subject to removal, she recited, savoring each syllable like fine wine. "Your vines, Mark, disrupt our neighborhood's harmony." "Harmony," I said, keeping my voice steady for the phone cameras already rolling. "You're stealing my property, Laura." "That's not harmony, that's theft." The word hung heavy in the humid air. A murmur rippled through the crowd, not quite agreement, but not dissent either. Property values make cowards of us all. Laura's smile was all teeth, her eyes scanning for allies. "We're enforcing standards we all agreed to," she said, addressing the neighbors, not me. I adjusted my shirt, the county sheriff's department badge catching the light. "You taped your notice at midnight," I said. "Sunlight's not your style, is it?" Her smile faltered, just for a second. The cousins kept loading crates, juice dripping purple onto the truck bed. One of them, narrating into his phone, smirked. "This is what it takes to save Fairview from fruit." I felt the old instinct to stay polite, to smooth things over, but I was done playing nice. "Call enforcement," I said, loud enough for the crowd. "I'm a fan of rules, real ones." Laura's eyes narrowed, but she pressed on, signaling her crew to grab another crate. That's when Tom, the retired deputy next door, stepped forward. White-haired, steady, he had the calm of someone who'd seen real fights. "Laura," he said, "you're crossing a line." His gaze flicked to my badge, and her confidence wobbled. She didn't see it coming the moment her power started to slip. Her eyes finally landed on the sheriff's emblem, and something behind her polished facade retreated. "We'll finish this later," she snapped, waving her crew back to the truck. The neighbors dispersed, whispering, already rewriting the story. Tom lingered, his nod saying, "You won the round, not the war." I walked my vines that night, Titan at my heels, the grapes glowing under the moon. They were mine, and I wasn't letting go. The HOA meeting 2 days later was a pressure cooker. The community center, a converted garage smelling of chlorine, buzzed with tension. Laura sat at the head of a U-shaped table, her silver necklace flashing under fluorescent lights. She presented my vineyard like a crime scene, photos projected on a cracked wall, her voice dripping with civic duty. "This visual blight threatens our community's value," she said, scanning for nods. She got a few, but not enough. When it was my turn, I stood, my badge catching the light. Your bylaws require a board vote for removal, I said, holding up the county's letter confirming my vines were legal. You skipped that step. And this. I raised the orange, pending removal sign she'd zip-tied to my gate. This is intimidation, not enforcement. The room shifted. Neighbors leaned forward, phones down, actually listening. Tom spoke up, his voice cutting through Laura's rhetoric. You're setting a precedent for seizing property without process. That's not authority, it's overreach. Laura's smile tightened, her pen tapping faster. She adjourned the meeting abruptly, her usual charm replaced by clipped efficiency. Outside, Tom muttered, "You've got a week, maybe less." I nodded, knowing Laura wasn't done. The next move came fast. A white pickup idled at the corner, a hooded figure snapping photos of my vines before slipping away. Then a certified letter arrived, colder than the last, giving me 72 hours to dismantle my vineyard or face sanctioned measures. I didn't flinch. I printed bylaws, shared them with neutral neighbors, and set an oak barrel on my porch. A quiet taunt. The grapes were ready, heavy with promise, and I wasn't backing down. On the deadline morning, Laura arrived with contractors and a shredder, her heels clicking like a countdown. I stepped forward, phone recording. "You're about to commit trespassing and property damage," I said, voice carrying to the gathering crowd. "The county says my vines are legal. You need a court order, you don't have one." The contractors hesitated, glancing at Laura. Then Tom's cruiser rolled up, lights flashing. "Got a report of a dispute," he said, eyeing the shredder. Laura's face flushed. "This is an HOA matter," she insisted. Tom's eyebrow lifted. With a shredder on his land? The neighbors' phones were up, capturing every word. Tom asked if I wanted to press charges. "Not today," I said, but I wanted on record that Laura authorized a legal entry. She froze, calculating, then retreated, her crew trailing behind. The crowd lingered, whispering. Laura had lost not in court, but in the court of Maplewood Lane's opinion, where whispers cut deeper than fines. That afternoon, I harvested. The grapes fell heavy into baskets, their scent thick and sweet. By evening, the barrels were full, the oak won in the vineyard's heart like a trophy. A week later, a plain envelope slid under my door. No apology, just a note saying the HOA was dropping the matter. I pinned it to the fridge, next to the orange sign, relics of a fight I hadn't started but wouldn't lose. The wine was ready by late August, dark and bold, with a bite that tasted like defiance. Neighbors stopped by, leaving with bottles and stories they'd retell with a grin. Laura still drove by, eyes forward, her power dimmed. The vines stood lush, breathing under the moon, proof that some things can't be taken. Have you ever faced someone who thought they could bully you into submission? What would you do if your passion, your garden, your art, your freedom was threatened by someone with a clipboard and a grudge? Would you fight quietly or go loud? Drop your story below, hit that like button, and subscribe for more tales of standing your ground.